Good evening, friends, and welcome to the fantasy playoffs. Though I guess that really is only applicable for 6 members of the league and 50% of this show. I'm a very happy Ryan. He's a very sad Dan. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I don't care. I don't want to be here.
You're only here so you don't get fined.
Well played.
It was a rough week, Dan. We can spend as much or as little time talking about it as you want. Week 14 is in the books. The 6 teams for the playoffs are decided. Let me just go ahead and throw the bracket up now and get that started. So we're not going to spend a ton of time in the consolation bracket, Dan. This could actually be one of our shortest shows ever. But I did want to start with, kind of what we learned. And for me, I didn't write down much. I updated the league doc this week. So I was going to go that JR still holds the league scoring record based on what you and I said last week. I needed about 90 more points to catch him this season. That did not happen. Dan, you are still the winningest manager in league history. You picked up your 140th win this season. I am now 3 wins behind you. I'll just say this one because it's hilarious. Kenny wins the championship last year and then now has a chance to go back-to-back like Taylor did. Kenny is ranked 23rd out of 27 total managers in Massillon Football League history. So that's interesting. Looking at the draft lottery, Dan, while it's not all good news, you are in first place in draft lottery and JR is in second place in draft lottery. So I don't know who has your pick, but you do have JR's pick, so that's helpful.
Phil has my pick.
Okay. And Phil is tied for everybody kind of has 3 points right now. The loser's bracket's going to matter. I found this interesting, Dan. Every non-playoff team beat a playoff team, so you all got that point, and it just kind of canceled out this season.
Interesting.
Dan, you did get the point. You, of all of the non-playoff teams, set the best lineups this season. 95% of your max total score you accomplished. Your team could have only scored 1642. You scored 1565.
Great.
I know that makes you so happy, Dan. Wait, what's this? What is going up against John? Oh, the John Cena retirement match. We're crazy. I did hear that John Cena's walking away and they were doing all these tributes and everything for him. Yes, we are doing that, Nathan. So you enjoy John Cena. You don't have to be here for depressed Dan. Dan, did you have anything you wanted to add about last week before we just jump into week 15?
Congratulations to Kenny. You still make stupid trades. You just have 4 guys have the best week of their year in the same week. Congratulations.
Yeah, you called exactly what was going to happen, Dan. You texted me before the game was over and said that the thing you were looking forward to least was Kenny calling out our disrespect of Shadur Sanders. And he pretty much immediately went that route. Shadur Sanders played well, so it is what it is. When I look at last week, Dan, not only did you lose the playoffs, you also had your worst week of the year picking. Only went 3-4 last week. I went 5-2, and Darren actually went 6-1. I think this race is pretty much over. We're obviously going to continue to play. I have 73 correct. You have 64 correct. Darren has 56 correct. So that's just kind of where we stand right now.
So pull back the curtain a little bit. It was about 3:30 on Sunday last week. I was getting ready to start coaching Owen's hockey team. Bengals were winning. I was beating Kenny. Everything was great in life. Owen's hockey team is winning 2-0 going into the third. His team gets tired, completely falls apart. We lose 4-2. I look at my phone. Bengals lost. Kenny's killing me. Everything fell apart all at the same time. Sunday sucked.
I'm going to throw Nathan up on the screen real quick. So, yes, this is something we have worked on fixing. He said, once you deal away your own pick, wouldn't you do everything for it not to be better? Dan had no choice in the matter. Everything that makes your pick better is trying to make the playoffs. We have eliminated any potential bonuses for tanking in this league. It is because it's a redraft league. It's not dynasty. So we have set it up where there is no benefit to losing any game of the year ever. So the best thing you could possibly do is set your lineups, do everything you can because you're trying to make the playoffs. Now, you could argue that a team towards the bottom, if they don't have their own pick, they also could just give up. But the league has been pretty good since we implemented this rule a couple of years ago, Dan. The bad teams have all seemed to hold on to their pick. And then it's been really interesting for teams in your position where you may trade away your pick to make the playoffs, and then it comes back to bite you because you specifically, Dan, are the best team not in the playoffs, and now someone might get the first pick out of that.
Hey, I'm going to do everything I can to win this bracket, get another point of luck, and hope Phil can have the second pick.
We got to do something because, man, talk about a team falling apart at the end of the season.
I got your back, Phil. I hope you get the second pick, buddy.
There you go. You're definitely rooting for JR. I'm going to skip the 4 playoff matchups, Dan. I'm going to throw the matchups up on screen that are not the playoffs in order. We'll talk briefly about them. Speaking of Phil, it's you versus Phil. Right now, Sleeper has you projected to win this one by 10. I don't have a ton of analysis for these matchups, Dan. I'm picking you, and I put in here that it's Burrow and Puka bring this one home for you.
They'll probably outscore his entire team by themselves. Phil's team is terrible. I'll win this game.
There you go. Horvath versus Taylor. Kyle Pitts scores 40 points for Taylor's team. Not a coincidence. Taylor is projected to beat Horvath by 41 points. What a first game of the losers bracket. I'm picking Taylor here. Obviously, I said Pitts got it done, but JSN and James Cook will seal it up for him.
Yeah, Taylor's going to get the win.
Darren versus Eric. Another former rivalry. Right now, it is projected as dead even. It wasn't even that even when I looked at it earlier today. What do my notes say here, Dan? I said this. So Eric's team was so very bad last week. He scored like 56 points while fighting for a playoff spot. I'm going to pick him, especially weird considering Darren has had the second highest score for like 3 consecutive weeks at this point. But I think Eric has a small edge at every position, Dan. I'm going to give him the win on this one.
Darren's team's been hot. I'm going to go Darren.
Hey, that's probably a good pick. That's probably a comeback pick. JR versus Greg is the final matchup of the losers bracket. Right now, JR projected to win this one by 6. When Greg sets the lineup, his team's pretty good, but overlooking this one, Dan, I liked everything pretty much for JR at all the important spots. I am not a big fan of him starting the Indy defense this week.
I'm not a big fan of starting the Ravens against the Bengals either.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I don't know, man. Mahomes
looked awful last week.
I loved every second of it. Absolutely loved every second of it. I'm gonna go Greg get the win.
Wow. All right, couple of differences. So 2 playoff matches. The Weises got the bye. Steve Weiss and me. I am at the 1 seed. Steve is at the 2 seed. The winner of Terry versus Rob P faces me. Both teams 8-6. Sleeper has the game projected 113 to 114. Rob P got 18 points out of 2 players on Thursday. Chase McLaughlin is kicker, gets him 11. Mika Ibuka at wide receiver gets him 7. Dan, I'll just kind of read the starting lineup off here to kill time. It's Josh Allen versus Dak Prescott. Ashton Genty and Derrick Henry versus Quinshon Judkins and Jahmyr Gibbs. Michael Wilson and Jalen Waddle versus Mika Ibuka and DK Metcalf. George Kittle versus Tyler Warren. Michael Pittman versus Tedoroa McMillan at the flex. Max Crosby and Zach Bond at IDP. Chris Boswell against Chase McLaughlin. And then Rams defense taking on Detroit. Houston's defense taking on Arizona. Go ahead and get us started here, Dan. Rob P, Bobby wins versus Terry.
I'm going to take Bobby wins. I think defense is the biggest difference here. I think Terry's starting the Rams defense against a good Detroit offense versus the Texans defense against a terrible Arizona.
Yeah.
Their matchups are pretty even, I think, other than that. It's going to come down to Gibbs versus Allen, really. I think everything else is pretty even. So I'm going to go ahead and I think those two kind of cancel each other out, and I think the defense wins it for Bobby wins.
So I also think this is a dead even matchup, and I did have just about everything canceling each other out. I'm going to stick with what's got me here. in that situation, I go with the better quarterback. So I'm going to take Josh Allen, who is the better quarterback. Minnesota has been surprisingly tough on quarterbacks over their last few games, but they haven't played Dak Prescott level quarterbacks. Dan, my question to you is this a week to gamble on Lamar Jackson against your Bengals, or do you stick with Dak Prescott? Lamar Jackson finally shows up last week.
I am going Prescott.
You would go Prescott?
Yeah, they're playing Minnesota at home. You're talking Lamar Jackson in what's going to be about 5 to 10 degree temperatures, windy outside in Cincinnati, a team that shut him down literally 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, whatever it was on that Thursday. I would absolutely go Prescott without question.
There you go. I am going to take Terry here simply because of Josh Allen effect. Again, I've had to look into this week. Minnesota, over the last 4 games, has given up the fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. And I understand they have played bad quarterbacks, and this is Dak at home. It could be very different. But I'm going to give the edge to Josh Allen here. It looked really good last week against your Bengals. I don't know that he'll be able to repeat that performance against the New England Patriots, but he's certainly going to try to. So that brings us to the final matchup. Kenny versus Rob Motts. Both have Thursday action. Right now, Sleeper has Rob projected to win this matchup 124 to 107. Rob sitting at 21 points. Kenny sitting at 6. Rob got all 21 of those points from Bijan Robinson. Kenny is at 16, all from Mike Evans. This is a 1v1 matchup, but the algorithm still prefers Rob's team. It is Shedeur Sanders versus Drake May. Travis Etienne and Omarion Hampton versus Bijan Robinson and Javonte Williams. George Pickens and Mike Evans versus Nico Collins and Juwan Jennings. Harold Fannin versus Hunter Henry. Breece Hall at the flex versus Woody Marks at the flex. Myles Garrett versus Jordan Brooks. Blanked on his name there for a second. Jake Elliott versus Cam Little, my recently released kicker that Rob immediately signs. Green Bay's defense taking on Denver versus San Francisco's defense taking on the Tennessee Titans. How do you see this match shaking out, Daniel?
I think it'll be closer than what Sleeper says, but I'm taking Motts to get the win.
Okay. Do you want to break it down a little bit there?
I don't think Shedeur Sanders has those kind of that game again this week. I don't think Fannin has his game again this week. I don't love Breece Hall against Jacksonville. I don't love the Packers defense against Denver. I just think there's too many things going against Kenny there.
Yeah, I also had it as very even when I did my position by position, and I also agree with you on picking Rob. We're going to sit here and just disrespect Shedeur Sanders again, but I think a key difference this week is I'm hearing the wind in that Chicago game can be crazy. And say what you will about Shedeur Sanders, he does not have the arm strength that's going to cut through a Chicago wind, whereas I think this Josh Allen versus Drake May is going to shape up to be one of the quarterback battles of the week. So I really like Drake May again this week. But a lot of the things you said, George Pickens could be by himself, but I think CeeDee Lamb is going to play this week, whereas Nico Collins is the definitive one against a piss-poor Arizona defense. And then like the other part was the Green Bay defense. They're like the defense 20 on the season. They have not looked great. You're going up against Denver in Denver, whereas San Francisco gets one of the best matchups, though they've been one of the worst defenses on the league as well. But you're looking at 2 bad defenses. One just has a better matchup. So we are agreeing there, Dan, and it all breaks down to, in this bracket, I took Terry, you took Rob P. And then in the other bracket, I took Eric and JR. You took Darren and Greg. So we have 3 different this week, a chance for you to make up a little ground.
It won't happen. Don't worry.
I do want to throw Nathan back up on the screen. He's going against Pitts. So, Dan, I have Pitts starting in one league. But in the 32-team league that you and I are in together, I have been picking the wrong quarterback for like 4 consecutive weeks. I picked Aaron Rodgers over Kirk Cousins this week. Cousins has a really good game. But more importantly, the other guy had Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. So I think I'm cooked in that league.
Good. I have your first round pick, so even better.
Yeah, that's true. It does get you a little bit of extra there. So he needs high ceiling, Nathan does. It's a tight end premium league, Dan. Where we go Mark Andrews, Rico Dowdle, I almost said McMillan. Terry McLaurin, blanking on the name there, seeing it as Mac. Terry McLaurin or Deebo Samuel.
I'm staying as far as I can away from any Washington football player.
I'm with you.
So it's Dowdle or Andrews. Here's the thing. The Bengals are the worst team in NFL history against tight ends.
They are.
So I would lean that way, but the weather conditions make me nervous for Lamar Jackson. So I think Dowdle's your safe bet. If you're going high ceiling, I go Mark Andrews because there's, I think, a better than 50% chance he walks out of this game with more than 2 touchdowns or with more than 1 touchdown. So that's the route I would go. He's not going to, I don't think in that weather going to have a monster game, but I think he can come out with 2 touchdowns and a couple catches.
Yeah, I have literally nothing to add. Dan said it exactly how I would have said it. You cannot bet on Washington after the performance they put up last week with that shutout. Rico Dowdle is a safe option, but the last time we saw them play, Chuba Hubbard was cutting into that workload. Yes, Isaiah Likely is cutting into Mark Andrews' workload, but as Dan so aptly pointed out, the Cincinnati Bengals have made the conscious decision to stop covering tight ends this season. They are the worst team in NFL history against tight ends. I think Isaiah Likely and Andrews easily score a touchdown, and one of them could score multiple touchdowns. I agree with Dan there. So good call, Dan.
Thanks, buddy. Means a lot.
Great analysis. All right, Dan. And then to top it off, Darren's amazing week, 6-1 on his picks, also was right on the player game that we play. I went Mahomes and JSN. They scored 32 points. You went Burrow and Cook. They scored 29. Darren goes Allen and Achane. They score 39. So that picks up Darren's third win. You are still ahead in the game with 5 best weeks. Dan, me, and Darren now tied at 3. As I always do, I will give you the option to go first, or do you want me to announce mine first?
Go right ahead.
I figured that's what it was going to be. I'm going to keep it very, very chalk. Josh Allen and Puka Nacua. I think Josh Allen, this is a big game. This is still fighting to win their division, still technically fighting to make the playoffs because of how well New England has played this year. I think he's going to need to stand up against that defense. He played well last week. I think he's getting into a groove. It's the best time of year. And then Puka Nacua, you get Detroit, who over the last 5 weeks has been the worst team in the NFL against wide receivers in what I believe these 2 games to be the highest 2 scoring games on the slate.
I was going to go Stafford and Puka, but I'm going to keep Stafford.
Oh.
And then I'm going to go with JSN.
JSN?
Yeah.
JSN has been cooking. My biggest concern, I'm going to be real interested to see how that game plays out, because obviously we didn't talk about it on this show at all. 40-year-old Phillip Rivers coming back. Is he going to be able to keep this a game to the point where they need JSN? But even in the games where they haven't needed JSN scored plenty of fantasy points, Dan.
I don't think Phillip Rivers is going to do much. I think they're going to blow him up. I think he'll still get his couple touchdowns in there.
I did not have picks from Darren yet to add for the players or any of the game picks, but I forgot to ask the most important question, Dan. Who's your champion?
I hope Rob wins it.
You're rooting for Rob?
Just rooting for Rob at this point. Screw all you guys.
Either Rob?
Rob and Terry.
Those are the 2 teams I root for. I have decided, Dan, based on what I've seen over the last few weeks, Terry is my champion. He has Josh Allen and Derrick Henry at the right time of year. I think he gets by, as I called Rob P this week, and then I think I'm going to struggle against him next week. So I'm calling Terry as my current champion once again to appease the fantasy.
Well, I don't know how you pick your players, but I actually, like, when I'm for our little game we play, I always go through Sleeper and look at projections and matchups and stuff like that. I don't know if you caught it or not, but this week Sleeper has an IDP that's projected to have 5 interceptions, 5 fumble recoveries, 311 tackles, 13 sacks, and score 480 points this week.
I did not catch that, but who is this mystery man?
Marist Luafau.
I see that now. 480 fantasy points for the Dallas Cowboys.
He's projected to score that this week, yes.
Last week, he did not record a single tackle on 9 defensive snaps. This week, he is going to have the single greatest game in NFL history. I love that, Dan. What a great call out there. I normally just pick my players from the game from my own rankings over on Fantasy Pros. So, well, Dan, that wraps up the show. I knew it was going to be a short one as we get into the playoffs. They typically are. Parting words for our friends.
I love you guys. I can't wait till this is over.
Dan, counting down the days until this is over. I'm counting down the days until I face Terry in the semifinals. And one of us has a really, really bad weekend. We're going to be real interested to see how that goes. By the way, as we're getting on here, something I wanted to bring up earlier. Did you see that for like the 6th time this season, Taylor lost a game on Monday night after that debacle of Jalen Hurts? Rob came back and won that game with the Chargers defense.
Oh, yeah, I thought about that and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Rob clinching that 9th win. And I think Rob and Terry are only... I say only they're about 14 wins behind you in the most wins in league history. Me, you, Rob, and Terry are the only 4 OG managers who have been a manager every season. So we are far ahead the rest of the league when it comes to total wins. JR did pick up his 100th win this season, though. So congrats to JR. I have nothing negative to say because I have a bye week. What do I have to be mad about? So we'll see you guys next week when I'll be a lot more angry. Have a good night.